Hello, New York Yankees fans. We have brand new exclusive videos and the latest news for you. Before we get started, we'd like to invite you to join our channel and give this video a like. It's crucial to get exclusive access to the latest updates. The buzz around baseball circles exploded when whispers started spreading that Giancarlo Stanton, once the face of raw power in the Bronx, was suddenly packing his bags for Seattle. The entire situation felt surreal, almost like one of those late-night rumors that no fa realmente leves serios until it becomes too loud to ignore. And that's exactly what happened. The chatter kept growing, people kept connecting dots, and before you realized it, insiders were acting like this move had been in the air for weeks. The idea of Stanton leaving the bright lights of New York for the cool, misty Northwest felt like the end of an era, and fans were left wondering how a storyline so improbable became the newest shockwave in the league. The mood across social media ranged from disbelief to relief, with some saying it was a fresh start for everyone involved. Others insisted the Yankees were giving up on a superstar too soon. The Mariners' side of the rumor mill, meanwhile, was buzzing like a hive, as if the city had been waiting for a jolt like this to reignite its baseball soul. People close to the situation kept dropping vague hints, speaking in that cryptic tone that only fuels speculation even more. You would hear things like talks progressed quickly, or this was brewing behind the scenes, phrases that do nothing except make fans feel like they're missing half the story. And honestly, that's part of why this rumor hits so hard. Nobody saw it coming, at least not in this shape. There had been complaints about Stanton's declining numbers, his injuries, and the pressure of carrying expectations the size of the Yankee Stadium scoreboard. But no one expected the Yankees to actually pivot away from him with such decisiveness. It felt like they had reached a breaking point, a moment where nostalgia no longer outweighed practicality. On the Mariners' side, the rumor painted a picture of a franchise determined to add star power, even if the fit wasn't conventional. It was as if both teams needed this shift for different reasons, and Stanton just happened to be the center of gravity pulling everything together. What really stirred the pot was the emotional undertone behind the chatter. New Yorkers had a complicated relationship with Stanton, admiration mixed with frustration, excitement mixed with exhaustion. The man arrived with Hollywood-level hype, a towering figure capable of sending baseballs to galaxies unknown. But the expectations were ridiculous, sometimes unfair, almost impossible for any player to live up to consistently. Every strikeout became a headline, every slump a crisis, every minor resurgence a spark that quickly fizzled. The rumor suggested that both sides had silently agreed that the relationship had run its course, like two people realizing they've outgrown each other, even if they still share some good memories. The narrative of an era ending didn't feel exaggerated. It felt honest, a recognition that change doesn't have to be dramatic to be necessary. Mariners fans, meanwhile, saw opportunity in the situation, framing it like a Hollywood redemption arc waiting to unfold on the Pacific Coast. The idea of Stanton in a Mariners uniform sounded strange at first, almost like fan fiction plastered across a late-night forum. But then, as the rumor spread, it started gaining this weird sense of inevitability. People began imagining him launching home runs into the upper deck at T-Mobile Park, that distinct Stanton swing echoing under the stadium lights while the crowd roared like they hadn't in years. Analysts speculated about lineup configurations, clubhouse dynamics, even coastal lifestyle changes, because that's how wild the speculation became. And you know how it goes. The more people talk, the more real it feels. Some insiders swore that Seattle had been eyeing a major acquisition for a while, trying to push themselves into a new competitive tier, and Stanton just happened to be that final puzzle piece. Whether it's true or not, the energy around the rumor made it sound like both teams were preparing for a seismic shift, the kind that becomes a defining chapter in each franchise's story. What struck many fans was the strangely calm reaction from certain corners of the Yankees community. Instead of outrage, some people seemed almost relieved, like this was a necessary reset button. They talked about opening space, reshaping strategy, bringing in players who fit a different identity. Stanton leaving wasn't framed as a failure. It became more like a mutual understanding that the partnership had run its course. And yet, the emotional weight was still there, lingering in every conversation. After all, Stanton had provided unforgettable moments, towering blasts, and glimpses of superstardom that electrified the stadium. The rumor didn't erase any of that. It simply reframed it as part of a chapter that had come to its natural conclusion. Meanwhile, the Mariners community reacted with cautious excitement, wondering whether this was finally the move that ends their cycle of being just short of something big. They treated the rumor like a spark, a new identity, a sign that their franchise was stepping into bolder territory. The baseball world, always hungry for dramatic storylines, latched onto the rumor with both hands. Debates erupted everywhere. Sports shows, group chats, comment sections, even casual conversations at bars and batting cages. People discussed why the Yankees might be moving on, whether Stanton could thrive in a new environment, and what this meant for the league as a whole. It became one of those stories that live beyond the actual transaction, taking on a narrative life of its own. And that's the beauty of these moments. Before anything is confirmed, the imagination takes over. Fans craft their own interpretations, their own predictions, their own emotional reactions. Stanton becoming a Mariner symbolized more than just a trade. It became a metaphor for transition, reinvention, and the unpredictable nature of baseball itself. The rumor wasn't just noise. It was a cultural moment, echoing through every corner of the sport and leaving fans wondering what surprises might come next. As the rumor mill continued churning, new layers began to unfold, bringing the story even closer to feeling like a genuine turning point in Stanton's career. People started commenting on how the change of scenery could give him a new burst of life, something fresh to break the pattern he had fallen into in New York. There's something about the Pacific Northwest that invites athletes to breathe differently, to reset mentally, and that narrative fit so well with the idea of Stanton searching for a new chapter. Fans speculated about how the Mariners' coaching staff might approach his swing, whether they'd tweak mechanics or simply unleash him with confidence. And of course, any rumor involving a superstar brings out dramatic predictions, with some insisting he would rediscover his peak form almost instantly. The whole situation had that cinematic quality, like a player walking away from flashing lights and stepping into a foggy skyline where everything feels possible again. New York insiders, meanwhile, continued to drop little breadcrumbs about how the organization viewed the move. Some described it as part of a larger vision, a shift toward flexibility rather than relying on big-name thunder. Others whispered that tensions had quietly grown over time, not in a dramatic or explosive way, but in that subtle, layered way that hints a relationship has reached its limit. According to the chatter, both sides handled things professionally, almost respectfully, accepting that sometimes performance cycles simply run their course. These insights gave the rumor a tone that felt mature rather than messy, and that surprised a lot of fans. People are used to blockbuster departures being painted as betrayals or failures, but this one felt more like two paths naturally diverging. Mariners fans absorbed those reports with fascination, interpreting them as proof that their team was stepping into a bigger stage, willing to inherit both the pressure and the potential of a star with something to prove. Around baseball, analysts continued expanding the narrative with their own interpretations. Some claimed the Mariners were taking a risk that could either skyrocket or implode, framing Stanton as the ultimate high-ceiling gamble. Others argued that the Yankees were finally embracing a new identity, one focused on reshaping the roster with agility rather than anchoring themselves to long-term commitments. No matter which angle people took, everyone agreed that this rumor had that once-in-a-blue-moon energy. It wasn't just about a player switching teams. It was about symbolism, about eras shifting, about the emotional charge of uncertainty. Discussions about ballpark dimensions, lineup protection, injury histories, and legacy suddenly filled the airwaves. Yankees fans revisited their favorite Stanton moments, replaying those iconic blasts in their minds, as if preparing to store them in a vault labeled memories. Mariners fans imagined how he would look stepping to the plate under their roof, The crowd hushed before erupting at the crack of the bat. The whole narrative transformed into something poetic, almost theatrical. Then came the conversations about chemistry, which always surface when big names are involved. People wondered how Stanton would fit into the Mariners' clubhouse vibe, whether his reserved personality would blend seamlessly with the team's culture. There were whispers that some players were already thrilled by the idea, excited at the possibility of adding that level of experience to their lineup. Speculation suggested that Stanton, often misinterpreted because of his demeanor, could actually thrive in a more chill, low-pressure environment where expectations aren't magnified by constant spotlight. Mariners fans debated whether his presence could elevate younger players, teaching them the nuances of handling fame, pressure, and postseason aspirations. On the Yankees side, fans tried to imagine a future without him, pondering what new identity the team might adopt. It all added emotional depth to the rumor, making it feel like a story that extended far beyond the field. The rumor also sparked broader discussions about the nature of star power in baseball. People questioned whether big-market expectations sometimes suffocate a player's spirit, transforming electricity into weight. Stanton's story became an example of how a narrative can shift dramatically depending on context. In Miami, he was a phenomenon. In New York, he was a lightning rod for criticism. In Seattle, fans imagined he could become something else entirely, a blend of power, wisdom, and resilience. Commentators said this rumor wasn't just about a player moving teams. It was about redefining how we view athletes whose careers hit emotional crossroads. It felt like everyone was suddenly participating in a collective moment of reflection, examining how pressure shapes performance and how environment shapes identity. And that's why the rumor didn't fade. It grew, evolving into a conversation about reinvention and renewal. By the time the chatter reached its full volume, the baseball world had already embraced the idea as if it were part of an unfolding saga. Whether or not the trade was official didn't matter. Emotionally, fans had already started adjusting to the possibility. Yankees followers began talking about legacy, about how Stanton's time in pinstripes would be remembered, and about what came next for the franchise. Mariners fans envisioned excitement returning to their ballpark in waves, imagining the roar of a crowd witnessing the birth of a new chapter. The rumor had transcended speculation. It had become a story everyone felt invested in. And if there's one thing the baseball world loves, it's the drama of change, the poetry of beginnings and endings. Giancarlo Stanton going to the Mariners wasn't just a trade rumor. It was a sign that, in baseball, eras shift quietly at first, until suddenly they don't. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. As the rumor gained even more traction, it started triggering emotional reactions from fans who normally stayed quiet during roster debates. People who never comment suddenly found themselves typing long posts, talking about how they felt like they grew up with Stanton's journey, from his early days of raw power to becoming one of the most polarizing figures in New York sports. The thought of him leaving stirred something deeper than usual transaction chatter, almost as if everyone realized they had taken his presence for granted until the possibility of losing him felt real. Mariners fans chimed in with an entirely different energy, expressing excitement mixed with caution, unsure whether they were witnessing the beginning of a major new chapter or entering a high-stakes gamble. Yet behind all the speculation, there was a shared sense among fans across the league that if this rumor proved true, baseball was about to experience one of those storyline shifts that stay in conversations for years. And that's exactly why the rumor kept growing, because people didn't just want to understand it, they wanted to feel something through it. Another fascinating layer surfaced as analysts revisited Stanton's career arcs, comparing different phases of his journey and how each environment shaped him. They talked about how the bright lights of the Bronx had amplified every moment, turning small slumps into storm clouds and big swings into mythic echoes across the city. They contrasted that with Seattle, known for its quieter intensity, a city that supports its stars without drowning them in noise. This contrast turned into one of the main talking points fueling the rumor, because fans imagined Stanton finding a balance he hadn't experienced in years. Some insiders even hinted that the Mariners had been quietly preparing for a move like this, building a structure that could support a player ready to rewrite his narrative. Others suggested that the Yankees were finally ready to embrace change not out of frustration, but out of clarity. As these discussions spread, the rumor became not just plausible, but almost poetic, a symbol of how careers evolve through unexpected twists. By this point, the rumor had transformed into a full-blown storytelling phenomenon, the kind that fans debate during long car rides, sports bars playfully argue across tables, and talk show hosts dissect with animated gestures. It wasn't just about Stanton anymore. It was about the emotional electricity that happens when a storyline reaches a crossroads. People imagine the moment he steps onto the field in a new uniform. The mixed reactions, the cameras flashing, the commentators rushing to craft the perfect opening line. They pictured Yankees fans watching from afar, feeling a mix of nostalgia and curiosity, while Mariners fans leaned forward with hope that this could be the spark they had been waiting for. The beauty of this rumor was that it captured the human side of the sport, the uncertainty, the reinvention, the feeling that anything can change with a single decision. And whether the trade becomes a historic turning point or merely a chapter in a long saga, the emotional weight of the rumor had already left its mark on baseball's collective imagination. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.